Guys, there is so much to talk about. Like, I don't even know where to begin. First of all, I think we need to get the freak out of the way. Yuzuru Hanyu has officially announced they are retiring from competitive figure skating. That does not mean we're not going to see them on the ice. Listen, Fanyus, I've been through this. When Evgenia kind of announced, but not really announced, but slightly on the side announced that she was no longer being a competitive figure skater, I had a freak out moment. My little bit about Stan heart almost jumped out of my freaking throat. But we saw her on reality TV, we saw her in galas, shows. Yuzuru Hanyu is not going away. He stated that he wants to be remembered as a hardworking individual and he's going to focus on shows. So many more shows are to come. He is an icon. He is a genuine celebrity in Japan, in the world for figure skating. So believe me, we're not going to see any less of Yuzuru Hanyu. I honestly think that Yuzuru Hanyu is doing the right thing by retiring when he thinks it is right, when he thinks it is best. The reality is that we all lost 2 years. And for an athlete at the top of their game, that is a lot of time lost. And I think that kind of beat up his morale, and not just his morale, but his body, which is why I think he is severely disappointed with his last Olympic performance. But he also has enough self-awareness and connection to his own body to know that if he doesn't stop competing competitively, it's just going to be hurtful physically for himself. So I think he is making a sound choice to kind of self-preserve his body. And not just his body, but his legacy, his image, his career. He's had probably one of the most illustrious careers in all of figure skating, let alone the most intense fandom that there ever is. I don't think we'll ever see a poo rain as intense. I don't even know if I can call it a poo rain, but you know what I mean. A plushy rain as intense for any other skater from now till forever. Like, Yuzuru Hanyu captivated the minds of the world. He is an icon. He is Yuzuru Hanyu. Like, what else can I say? It is sad, and I do think that people are going to tribute him till forever and ever and ever, and he's basically going to become a legend if he already is not a walking legend to most of you. And I don't know, I feel more proud than sad. Like, I feel proud for Yuzuru for making this really tough choice for himself and saying, you know what? I've done my career. I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I mean, I know he wanted to land that quad axel, the famous coaxel, which Ilya Melinin has attempted in competition, but also landed in practice, which I'm sure Yuzuru Hanyu has landed in practice. I mean, he landed it at a practice in a competition. He landed it a bit under-rotated, but he freaking landed it. And I think he's still going to strive for that. I mean, Yuzuru Hanyu is not the kind of man that just is satisfied with being there. He is the Alexander Hamilton of skating in that regard. He's never satisfied. He wants to keep progress going, and he's still going to bring innovation to the sport. I am sure of it. Yuzuru Hanyu, I don't know what to say besides, like, I'm proud of him, and his career will never, ever be forgotten. I mean, I know we hate bringing up Yuri on Ice, but he captivated the minds of everyone before Yuri on Ice, and when Yuri on Ice came on, it just exploded. So he truly has kind of defied the celebrity that a figure skater can have. He's beyond that, and he will continue to be beyond that, even if he is no longer competitively skating. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that the ISU raised the age limit. I know this is kind of old news. This was going to be my next video because this was the most requested thing for me to talk about in my last video, which was basically a short movie. If you haven't seen part 2 to Beginner's Guide to Team Tuperitze, please check that out. But as I said in my last video, which I never posted because life, I think this is not gonna affect a lot. If you don't know, the ISU has raised the age limit, and they're going to do it periodically. They're going to do first 1 year is going to raise to 16, and eventually senior level is going to be 17. Right now it is 15, which we know is very much controversial because a new 15-year-old kind of takes the stage. But if you think about it, it's not really going to change that much because our current Olympic champion is Anna Shirokova, who was 17 when she won. I am not quite sure how old she is now. So it wouldn't have changed that much. And as we all know, the Eteri expiration date is 18, which again does not mean you become a pile of ashes when you turn 18. It means that's when you start to deteriorate. End of 17, beginning of 18. And so at the beginning, I was like thank God, progress, just because I think I wanted so desperately any sort of good news to come out of the ISU. But when you think about it, it's just gonna make people deprive their bodies for longer. It's gonna make people try even more extreme methods to stay competitive during the beginning of the end, specifically with the Eteri method, because we all know end of 17 is when things start to get a little bit dicey in terms of injury and what your body can take. So as much as I wanted to celebrate it, I'm just more like, okay, it kind of closes the window, but not entirely. That's how I feel about it. The flies are still gonna get inside. It's just not gonna be as many. And I think the harm is still going to be there. But like I said, it's maybe going to eliminate a few seasons of being dominated by a 15-year-old girl who can take everything because her body is still uninjured and young and able to heal fast and tolerate more than, a 20-year-old or even a 17-year-old at that. So it is a good change, but it's not going to do anything, I believe, in terms of changing the culture of the young, tiny girl that can jump wins everything. But it'll definitely change history because for a few seasons, if Kenya maybe at its peak was from 15 to 17. So it can definitely change history. It can make careers maybe a little bit shorter. And I think now, if Russia ever is allowed to enter the international competitive scene again, it'll make that revolving door a bit quicker. And, there'll be one-season champions, even more so than there were before. Remember that plastic cup metaphor that the Russian coach once used to describe the Eteri girls. I don't like one-season champions. They're like disposable cups that you throw away after you use once. I think we're going to see a lot more disposable cups, one-season champions, one-season stars. And the longevity is what we need to keep the sport going. Not just international competition flourishing, but also longevity of athletes that people can get attached to, rivalries that have narratives. And I feel like we're not going to get that as much. And this might help a little bit in elongating careers and us getting more familiar with athletes, but at the same time, the flavor of the month might change more quickly. People might stick around for longer, but who is the person winning the game might change even quicker than before. However, that could all change depending on if Russia's allowed back, if new faces crop up from different countries. That's another thing that I'm going to miss from Yuzuru Hanyu. Japan is still a very big superpower in terms of men's skating especially, and of course women's skating. Kaori won that bronze medal and deserved it, and there is a whole depth of field there for the ladies and the men's. But Yuzuru Hanyu was a large part of the Japanese interest in figure skating, and I really, really hope that that does not change too much with his retirement, because we need all the attention, funding, and just care that the Japanese put into figure skating. I know that Yuzuru Hanyu is going to stay an advocate of the sport, but his retirement does mean that we might lose a lot of fans who only were solo stands of his career, not necessarily of the sport. So that's a little bit of a worry, and I think this age raising limit might give us a little bit more time to get to know other competitors. And the third thing I want to talk about is that the girls are fighting. If you have not seen, Eteri Tutberidze felt the need, which she never does, because she barely ever gives a statement, an interview, not even a like on Instagram. If she has beef with you, she'll give you. She's very scarce with what she likes to do in terms of her online presence, or even press presence. Press presence? You know what I mean, being in the press. But she decided to clap back on Instagram, like the 13-year-old maturity level that we know she has, to none other than the Skating Lessons face. And I don't know what you'd say. The Skating Lesson, if you don't know, is this channel that talks about figure skating. They do a really good job of keeping updated. Like, they post almost every other day. Honestly, wish I had that level of commitment and dedication and editing skills to upload as often as they do. But they do a lot of journalism, and they have recently broken out the news that Diana Davis, Eteri's daughter, and Gleb Smolkin, her ice dance partner, were officially married in Las Vegas. And this, I am pretty sure, was hush-hush, not told to many people, because the speculation is that they did this to transfer to the US, since Diana Davis is a citizen and Gleb Smolkin can gain citizenship through a marriage. And I don't think that they appreciated this much because Diana even made a comment that reporters need to respect their private lives. And then Eteri did this. She left a comment on the skating lessons Instagram, a 2-week-old post, by the way, which means she just wanted to get it off her chest. She said, "No DMs for you, sir. I want the world to see this." And she said, "Dave, you so full of shit." Not you are. You so full of shit. You have no conscience, comma, no honor. You don't respect others because you haven't achieved anything yourself. Your statements humiliate the people around you. Shame on you. And honestly, when I first saw this, I thought it was an edit. I thought somebody was hating on the skating lesson because the skating lesson doesn't have the best reputation. It's treated kind of like a tabloid. They're thought of as gossipy. But I will say they do a lot of great journalism in terms like even just, how do I say? They just keep the conversation going in figure skating even when there's nothing going on. And I appreciate that because a healthy fandom needs something to talk about. And the skating lesson definitely gives us something to talk about. But today, it was Eteri who said, "I'm gonna give you something to talk about." And so she just did this publicly on the post in the middle of like, I don't know what, in the middle of the freaking night. It was like 1 a.m. if you do the calculations of when she left this comment. So she's definitely back in Russia, which is confirmed. We have video of her in Russia. Because the thing is, if you saw my last video as well, is that the speculation was still the same. Is she trying to go to Russia to coach? Is her daughter trying to change her nationality as an ice dancer to the USA? The way that would work is that she would need to be released from Russia in order to be able to join the US Federation. I'm not sure they can do anything to stop her once she is released from Russia. I mean, she is an American citizen, so she could. And while they keep stating that that's not what's happening, you know, and Eteri came back to Russia and it's just Eteri being a mother and accompanying her daughter in the US, well, the marriage license put a little bit of doubt on that. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people in the Russian Federation did not know that the marriage had gone on. And I think this was the last drop for Eteri, who then decided to call out Dave Lees on his own Instagram. And Dave has, of course, given another, formal response back through his videos where he says that, not says word for word, but, kind of insinuates that this is a bit of trying to take a hold of the narrative in the media since she doesn't have the pull and the power that she does in Russia. So she's trying to change the narrative here in the US by leaving a comment on his Instagram, which would be a very smart move, and I would not doubt Eteri to be doing such a thing. But I also do think she wanted to say these things to him. But Eteri is such a calculating person that I'm kind of believing that she definitely did this to kind of distract from the fact that, yes, her daughter is training in the USA with a different coach. And yes, her daughter has trained in the USA before, but if they're still represented in Russia, then why are they training in the US when Russia is literally banned from international competitions? Are they really going to travel into Russia for every single Russian competition? Because they can't do anything else. And if they are released, it's going to take like a year. And for Gleb to get citizenship, I know for a fact he would have to stay in the US. So it seems to me that the math is mathing and not in the direction that Eteri wants. I am pretty sure that Diana Davis is trying to, if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, it is a duck trying to get US visa. I don't know how else to say this. I'm pretty sure they will try at least to attempt to switch the US, and Eteri moving to the US is the bigger, more looming question that everybody has on their mouths, and it wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, come on. Of all the calculating things she's done, this would not be any different, at least to me. But again, all speculation, nothing is for sure. And the second thing I thought when I saw that thing, besides it possibly being an edit, is she coming for me? I don't want to talk too much because Eteri is now clapping back on Instagram. And although my Instagram is not out there, I know for a fact her and her bots would find a way to find me and threaten my life. So all speculation, all allegedly, all just fighting on the internet. And honestly, I'm kind of here for it. There's not much to talk about except for Yuzuru Hanyu suddenly deciding to retire today. So I appreciate the drama. But today had too much drama. This week, I don't know what happened. Between Eteri fighting, the skating lesson, Yuzuru Hanyu just letting fire in the fandom, at least on my Twitter timeline, the streets, as I like to call them. It was chaos out here. And then the old news of the ISU raising the age limit seems like a pretty small band-aid to fix all the mess that I just talked about. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'm sure you guys will let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as always, shout out to Timothy, Natalia, Leslie, Maria, Melissa, Katie, and Corina. Thank you so much for the support. I'm genuinely going to try to upload even more. I might even do a live stream just to hang out since there's really not much to talk about. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.